Last month, Halle Bailey was granted a temporary restraining order against DDG. According to her filing, she claimed he had put his hands on her during an argument. Beyond the immediate restraining order, she also sought to establish full custody of their son, Halle, and to prevent DDG from taking him out of California. That in itself felt shocking, but then came the real twist. DDG came back swinging with his own restraining order. In a legal move that continues to escalate the conflict, he accuses Halle of multiple instances of physical aggression, emotional manipulation, and accusations of threatening self-harm. Not only does he want full custody, he also wants to stop Halle from taking Halle out of the country, citing her upcoming movie schedule and alleged instability. Now this is fast-moving legal drama, but also extremely personal. DDG frames his filing as a desperate plea for protection, not just for himself, but for their young son. And look, regardless of whose side you're on, one remarkable thing is clear. This is not just a celebrity custody drama. It's a serious unfolding story about two people who may be struggling with mental health and how that is affecting their ability to co-parent effectively. DDG's court filings are extensive. He paints a picture of a relationship he describes as coercively controlled, escalating from emotional manipulation to physical aggression. He alleges Halle physically hit him on several occasions, enough that he felt compelled to document it. She supposedly threatened to kill herself whenever he tried to end things, and he's accused her of using their pregnancy as leverage, even allegedly threatening to terminate it if he didn't stay. He says this manipulation started shortly after learning of the pregnancy, painting it as an attempt to coerce him to commit. All of this, he argues, is dangerous not just for their relationship, but for their child. He also points to an incident in August 2023, while Halle was pregnant, where she allegedly took his gun and disappeared, prompting a search by his family out of fear she intended to harm herself or the baby. This isn't just allegations. This is deeply alarming behavior. From his point of view, these are clear red flags that he says demonstrate she is unfit to co-parent with. But wait, this relationship, by all accounts, was edgy and turbulent from early on. According to DDG, Halle would lash out over his friendships or collaborations with other women. One specific example, his texting with ex-Ruby Rose. While DDG maintains it was purely platonic, Halle allegedly saw it as betrayal. Part of me can empathize, who wouldn't feel uneasy about your partner texting an ex while pregnant. But the story turns darker when DDG includes text messages that show Halle begging him to respond, threatening mental self-harm, and even stating, "I have a knife. I'm calling for help." This was before she was pregnant. That shows consistent emotional instability and a pattern of behavior that should have set off red flags much earlier. Then came the alleged AirTag tracking and the scene at a theater. DDG's filing includes claims that Halle hid Apple AirTags in his car to know his whereabouts. She supposedly tracked him to a movie with a female friend, and, while pregnant, confronted them, allegedly yelling, cussing, and physically threatening his friend. He says he has surveillance footage. Again, these are his allegations, and not all proven. But if true, it underscores a degree of obsessive behavior that could pose safety risks not only to DDG but to their son, Halle. Halle's music video for Because I Love You features an obsessive girlfriend character, and she admitted it's based on real life. So if you've seen that video, this could be more than art imitating life. It could be revealing an unhealthy pattern of behavior that DDG felt compelled to document in his legal filings. One of the most explosive allegations comes from a January altercation. Halle claims DDG shoved her into the steering wheel, chipping her tooth and bruising her arm during an argument over visitation scheduling. He counters that it wasn't like that. His version: she climbed into his car when she wasn't supposed to, and when he tried to remove her from the driver's seat, she swung at him, accidentally hitting her own head against the wheel. He even submitted photos of his own injuries as defensive wounds. It's he said / she said at its most serious, and once again, Halle was in the car when it happened. Perhaps the most heartbreaking details come from screenshots of text messages in which Halle expresses deep emotional distress multiple times throughout 2022 and 2024. In one alarming message, she directly states her intent to harm herself. That's not exaggeration. That's a person in the throes of a mental health crisis. And while mental health struggles, like postpartum depression, are not grounds to declare someone unfit, they absolutely highlight a need for professional support, not condemnation. Yet, in DDG's words, these messages appear to have been part of a cycle of emotional coercion, using threats of self-harm as a means of control. That's a pattern often described in domestic violence cases, particularly grooming or trauma bonding scenarios. Whether intentional or not, the impact on the other person and on their child, halo, can be profound. Another difficult moment. Hal discovered DDG was allegedly involved with social media star LaLa Baptist during a group trip to Mexico. She believed text messages, social posts, etc., and accused him of betrayal just days after she gave birth. She wrote a message referencing intimate betrayal, which triggered another major emotional breakdown. She asked DDG to take custody of Halo, feeling she couldn't parent or cope in her emotional state. Meanwhile, LaLa has denied anything romantic happened, stating publicly that it was a group vacation and nothing inappropriate occurred. But perception matters. For Hal, her emotional response to that belief was overwhelming, and once again exposed publicly. On another distressing night, Hal showed up at DDG's home with Halo in her arms, outside at night in their pajamas, visibly upset and asking to be let in. Texts from that night showed deep despair. DDG responded that the presence of firearms and concerns over her emotional state made it unsafe for her to come inside. He says he left enough space for her to talk and see her son, but still, he didn't let her in. That text exchange ended with Hal expressing feelings of abandonment and heartbreak. This is real trauma communicated through text, a mother desperate, a father overwhelmed, and a baby caught in the emotional crossfire. Despite the allegations, DDG states repeatedly he loves Halo. Hal also clearly loves him. Many of the emotionally charged moments stem from fear of losing custody or not being good enough. But love does not equate to stability. From what we've seen, both parents are emotionally volatile, on edge, and potentially a risk to a young child. Stability, therapy, boundaries, these are non-negotiables that have not been demonstrated consistently by either side. The declarations of mental health crisis, allegations of manipulation, and access to weapons in times of crisis all speak to an unsafe environment for a toddler. At the moment, both Hal and DDG have restraining orders against each other. Both are fighting for full legal and physical custody while also attempting to control where and when Halo travels. The court filings are ongoing, the public is watching, and attorneys are reviewing every text message, incident, and timestamp. This isn't just celebrity news. This is a real young child whose well-being depends on the outcome. Judges will have to weigh mental health evaluations, physical evidence, home environments, and witness statements to determine what happens to Halo. My hope, it's not just that he ends up with one parent or the other in full custody, but that if both are found capable with therapy and structure, co-parenting or third-party support systems are considered. Because truly, the last thing Halo needs is to lose one parent entirely or continue living in the middle of a tumultuous relationship, impacting his safety and development. Let me close with a few thoughts. First, regardless of whether you think DDG is right or Hal is right, or maybe both are victims or both are responsible in part, this is a story about mental health, protection, and the complexities of modern relationships. Emotional manipulation isn't always as obvious as physical violence. Threats of self-harm complicate legal protections. And when a child is involved, you need more than love. You need consistency, safety, and boundaries. Second, if you're in a relationship that spirals into possessiveness, jealousy, threats, or emotional distress, seek professional support, talk to someone you trust, and exit safely, especially before bringing a child into the situation. Crisis rarely begins after birth. It often begins long before. Third, let's destigmatize mental health. Hal's situation shows how postpartum depression and deeper emotional issues don't just happen behind closed doors, they emerge in texts, legal proceedings, and family dynamics. Therapy shouldn't be a last resort, especially for parents. It should be part of a long-term plan for co-parenting and emotional wellness. This story is far from over. DDG and Hal's legal teams will likely submit more updates, more text threads, and more sensitive information. Their custody battle will include mental health assessments, testimony, and potentially home evaluations. The public may continue to follow it. My hope is simple. Both parents receive the help they need. Real help, therapy, boundaries, support, and then have an opportunity to co-parent in the safest way possible for Halo. No matter your opinion on their relationship, let's focus on what truly matters, the child. If you made it this far, thank you for engaging with a difficult yet essential topic. If you have thoughts, please share them respectfully.